Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. Who do you think will win in the fight between Iceman and Killer Frost? The confrontation between ice and cold death. Iceman Bobby Drake is one of Marvel's most powerful mutants. With the ability to completely control water and ice at the molecular level, he can regenerate his body, transform into a living ice form, teleport through liquid form, and even manipulate local climates. Iceman is not only a skilled warrior, but also a symbol of tactical flexibility. Killer Frost, or Caitlin Snow, is a talented scientist who is transformed into a heat-absorbing entity. She not only creates ice from the air, but can also drain the life force from all living things in a literal kiss of death. She is a combination of genius intellect and an uncontrollable hunger for energy, becoming more dangerous the more heat is lacking. Killer Frost uses her cold powers brutally, sometimes with a strong instinct for survival and destruction. Before we dive into the analysis, please click the subscribe button. Please remember to turn on notifications and click the bell icon. Thank you very much. Robert Bobby Drake, an Omega level mutant with incredible ice manipulation abilities, originally from New York. His powers first awakened in a moment of emotional outbursts when he accidentally froze his bully completely. As a result, he became the target of his terrified neighbors. Fortunately, Scott Summers, the leader of the X-Men, appeared in time, offering Bobby to join the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters as a safe escape and a chance to develop his potential. Accepting the invitation, Bobby became the youngest member of the original X-Men lineup. However, to protect his secret, Professor X was forced to interfere with the memories of Drake's family and friends, erasing all traces of his unusual abilities. However, over time, Bobby proactively revealed his true identity to them, proving his maturity and determination to live honestly. As an Omega level mutant, Bobby's abilities do not stop at simply creating ice. He can lower the temperature of the environment to near absolute zero, manipulate the molecular structure of water to create weapons, fortifications, or even replace his body with ice with superior durability. In battle, his fighting style combines sharp tactical thinking and flexibility in improvisation, turning the surrounding environment into an advantage. Bobby always has a deep sense of responsibility as a protector of the world. He has faced internal conflicts when balancing his personal life and his superhero mission, but in the end always chooses the higher ideal. His contributions to the X-Men and the mutant community have reshaped society's perception of the concept of mutation, proving that powers are different. His powers are divided into three main areas: thermokinesis, cryokinesis, and hydrokinesis. He possesses the ability to precisely and flexibly regulate the temperature and humidity of his environment. Thanks to this power, Bobby can cover his body in a thick, shiny, steel-like armor of ice, or apply ice to others. He can also form elaborate structures such as ice bridges, walls, pillars, and sharp weapons from the very moist air he controls. In combat, Iceman can instantly lower the temperature of any target he aims at to extreme levels. He fires powerful ice beams, freezing the air in front of him instantly. Conversely, he can also increase the temperature locally to break through the ice he has created, or cause frozen objects to rapidly melt. When he lowers the temperature of an object to extreme levels, the molecular structure inside the object becomes brittle and fragile. A simple blow is enough to crack or shatter a block of ice, or even the entire surface of a target. However, when he reaches the Omega level, Bobby is no longer limited to controlling water or ice from an external source, but he can restructure his body into a completely ice form, almost indestructible, immune to damage, making him one of the most dangerous and difficult to subdue mutants in the X-Men ranks. The ice crystals he creates are not just ordinary ice, but blocks of matter that he has subtly restructured at the molecular level, giving them the hardness and durability equivalent to high-grade metals. He can form ice walls, pillars, weapons, or traps in the blink of an eye, all with a meticulously sculpted, crystal-like crystalline structure. Now, Bobby is not simply covering his body with ice, but he has been able to turn his entire being into a complete ice entity. With complete control over moisture, he can freely reshape his physical structure into many different forms. From sharp blades sprouting from his arms, to ice wings that shine in the sunlight, Bobby can transform himself into any form he can imagine. When his ice body is broken, he can quickly regenerate it thanks to a combination of moisture manipulation and ice structure. This healing ability has made him been likened to Wolverine, but instead of regenerating from flesh and blood, he regenerates from ice crystals. He has complete control over his molecules and can manipulate them, as he remains conscious even after merging himself into larger bodies of water, ice, snow, steam, and can teleport within them. He can create ice clones of himself, effectively multiplying his numbers as he creates sentient life. He basically has an army. He can create ice golems that he can control, and turn raindrops into fists. A powerful Iceman that can kill entire worlds. In addition to ice forms and bridges, Iceman can freeze things to near absolute zero and has the ability to create inimitable ice creatures, including a small army of snow people. If any part of his ice form is damaged or even completely broken, he can rebuild himself, and it doesn't affect his physical body. In fact, there was one time when his ice form was broken in his chest and he healed himself by returning to normal, easily created this giant iceberg in the middle of Central Park. He created a giant version of himself to fight Hex, and he protected the Earth from solar flares. He froze an exploding nuclear reactor, created a global ice age, grew powerful, and was able to destroy the entire planet Earth, and he defeated Red Hulk, and he is omnipresent at this full potential because he is present on all water molecules around the world, aka pseudo-omnipresent. I really hope you subscribe to the channel. It will help us a lot, and moreover, you will see great videos every day. You are the best. Thank you very much. Killer Frost is an anti-hero character in the DC universe, often appearing in a complex role between the lines of good and evil. She is not exactly a traditional villain, but not a typical hero either. In many situations, she has confronted superheroes, but also stood on the side of justice many times, fighting alongside familiar names like Firestorm or the Justice League Dark Group. Her core power lies in the ability to control temperature. Killer Frost can absorb heat from any surrounding source, from the opponent's body to the environment's air, then convert it into powerful ice energy. In doing so, she not only weakens the target by reducing the heat in their body, but also leaves them in a paralyzed, vulnerable state. At the same time, the energy obtained will help her increase her attack ability, creating ice beams that can penetrate metal, erecting sharp ice pillars like blades, or forming a defensive armor around her body. Each of her attacks is highly strategic, both destructive and controlling the battlefield. Her coldness comes not only from her elemental powers, but also from her steadfast gaze and icy demeanor that makes any enemy wary. Killer Frost possesses a powerful ability to manipulate ice, far beyond what is usually imagined of a normal ice controller. Attacks from her hands can create ice beams so powerful that they can overload electronic devices. The cold is not just a surface effect, but a truly destructive force in her hands. In one battle, she completely froze Power Girl, a powerful version of Supergirl from Earth 2, in just a few seconds. This is a rare feat, as Power Girl possesses extraordinary resistance to physical and energy agents. She can also create ice tornadoes, which are both defensive and offensive in nature, capable of knocking back and inflicting damage to a large area of enemies. She once completely froze a member of the Green Lantern Corps, although it is unclear whether it was Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner. She also turned an entire waterfall into a solid mass of ice, which shows that she can control the temperature of the environment on a large scale, altering the structure of matter in an instant. One of the most dangerous aspects of Killer Frost is her ability to absorb heat directly from the human body. Not only does she drain the life force of her opponents by freezing their blood and muscles, rendering them unable to move or fight back, but she also nourishes herself at the same time. Absorbing heat is a necessary act of survival for her, and it is this element that makes close quarters encounters with her particularly dangerous. When close, each of her touches is a cold blow, causing the opponent's body to gradually become paralyzed before collapsing completely. Her eyes glow like ice, combined with her cold skin and her breath that emits a thin mist, all creating an image that is both seductive and deadly that no enemy would want to face a second time. Killer Frost possesses an incredibly special ability, to the point of being able to absorb heat from the sun itself, a powerful and inaccessible energy source for most other entities. This ability allows her to convert that enormous heat into pure power. Killer Frost also shows superior fighting ability when facing powerful opponents. She has defeated several members of the Justice League, including Wonder Woman when she was possessed by the entity Eclipso. In addition, she has overwhelmed a Green Lantern in a combat-ready state, at one point even taking down a character known as the strongest man in the DC universe. However, Killer Frost needs a stable source of heat to maintain her power state. When she cannot absorb heat from the environment or from her opponent, her internal energy will gradually be depleted. This not only makes her attacks ineffective, but also directly threatens her life. If she falls into an absolute cold environment or is separated from a heat source for too long, Killer Frost will quickly weaken, possibly leading to death. Killer Frost's lifelong enemy and most complicated relationship in her life is Firestorm. He is not only a superhero who has fought against her in many battles, but also the embodiment of what she desires most, a source of intense heat. Firestorm possesses the ability to control atomic energy, and that intense presence makes her both resent Firestorm for his superior power and attracted to the intensity of the heat his body radiates. Besides Firestorm, another force that has restrained Killer Frost is Amanda Waller and Task Force X, also known as the Suicide Squad. Under Waller's control, she was forced to participate in special missions in exchange for a fragile freedom. Even though she was part of the squad, she never truly felt safe. Amanda Waller's eyes always seemed to penetrate her soul. Along with the control devices attached to her body, she clearly understood that just a small mistake, an expression beyond the framework, her life would be immediately erased without hesitation. An unstable intersection where the layers of reality are cracked and the boundaries between universes no longer exist. Winter reigns, absolutely. Snow covers the ground, covering every treetop, every stone roof, and every patch of space like a giant cold blanket. The light from the sky is just pale streaks that seep through the thick gray clouds, creating a scene as if time is frozen. In that chaotic moment, Killer Frost was suddenly teleported to the Earth 616 universe. Her appearance was a shock to the ecosystem here. The air immediately cooled to its limit, all life in the vicinity quickly weakened from the thick cold mist emanating from her body. At the same time, Iceman, sensing the energy imbalance spreading from the invading alien entity, was immediately present at the scene, facing Killer Frost in the midst of a white and suffocating silence. Without hesitation, she took the initiative to strike. The trees lost their leaves in the blink of an eye. The ground began to crack and freeze silently. Iceman reacted extremely quickly. In a flash, he lowered his body and froze the entire surrounding ground to gain control of the terrain. The ice wall rose up densely, reflecting the cold light from the gray sky, forming a solid defensive maze. Not only defending, he also counterattacked immediately by creating long, sharp spears of ice, shooting out in a spiral at terrifying speed. Each counterattack carried a sub-zero temperature, not only strong enough to penetrate the opponent's ice, but also capable of freezing everything it touched in seconds. Killer Frost began to deploy her ultimate skill, the ability to absorb life heat from all surrounding objects. She sucked the heat from the ground, from the roots of the trees, from the air that still had a hint of warmth, turning the entire area into a white, dead zone. The earth and rocks shattered, cracking into blocks of ice as cold as steel. As each molecule of heat was drained, her body became radiant, as if powered by the most basic energy of life. Her skin turned a cold blue, her eyes glowed with an icy light, and the cold air around her became so thick that it could be seen with the naked eye. In this situation, Iceman was forced to tap into his Omega level potential. He completely transformed his body into atomic ice, reaching a state of near invulnerability. He used his ice clone ability, recreating a series of copies of himself, each with the same power as his main body. These clones moved like a whirlwind, making it impossible for the enemy to determine which was the real Iceman and which was just an icy silhouette. Killer Frost quickly caught one of the clones. She closed in, plunged her hand into the clone's body, and drained its heat in an instant, but the moment the energy poured in, she immediately realized she was wrong. It was not the real Iceman. It was just a decoy, an empty statue created to distract. In the moment, she diverted her energy to absorb the wrong target. The real Iceman merged back together and delivered the finishing blow. He unleashed a massive blast of ice which quickly expanded and froze the entire atmosphere around him. The air was compressed to the point of absolute negative. Everything became motionless like a frozen painting in the void. Killer Frost was trapped in the harsh, cold vacuum. Without any heat source to tap into, she could no longer absorb energy. Her power rapidly diminished, the mist around her body gradually dissipated, and her body began to be compressed by the pressure of the absolute negative, creating small cracks on her icy skin. Killer Frost faced the most severe paradox of her own ability. When there was nothing left to absorb, her power also dissipated along with the very cold she had created, and Iceman was the winner. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That's today's video. Thanks a lot.